Okay, so now let's go ahead and make a survey object that's going to be a collection of questions. And I'm going to start with the constructor. I'll call it a question section. And it's going to have a title as well. So if you look at the original survey, let me pull this up. So you'll see there's a section for demographics and a section for housing information. That's it, just two sections. Nope, yep, two sections. Um, so it's going to have a label, which is going to be demographics or housing information, and then it's going to have an array of question objects. And then what I'm going to want to do is support a toHTML method. So this .toHTML is a function var result is, and then at the top, let me go ahead and hard code that. So at the top of the page, I'm going to have an H1 for housing insecurity survey. And then each section, the title is going to be an H2. So this thing here wants to be an H2 plus title plus end H2. Oh, and I forgot to put semicolons on some of these lines before, so let me fix all of those. That one's fine. And there. And that one's fine. Okay, so now I have semicolons in all the right places. So there's my header, and then I'm going to loop through each question and add that to the HTML. But before I do that, so I have an H1 and H2, that means that questions want to have H3 instead. And because of the way I've structured this, I only need to change that in one place, and then that's going to affect all of my different questions. So that's the advantage of inheritance there. And then here's my loop. So for var counter is 0, counter less than questions dot length, counter plus plus. We're going to set result plus equal question sub counter dot to HTML. Now you'll notice that the toHTML that's getting called is going to be different depending on what type of question it is. So for a short answer question, this function is going to get called, and for multi-select question, this is going to get called, and for multiple choice question other, this is going to get called. But question section doesn't need to know any of that. All it needs to know is that it has a question object and it's calling a toHTML method. And the fact that a different piece of code is going to run depending on the type of the question doesn't matter over here. Which means if I want to add another question type, all I need to do to make that work is provide a toHTML method for the new question type and include one of those question objects in this array right here. So that makes it really easy to extend this code without having to muck around with question section all the time. And there's a term for that. So when you have many different implementations for the same interface, so toHTML is part of the interface for all question objects, and even though I have different implementations, different code backing that interface, the thing that's using the interface, talking to the interface, doesn't have to know that. That's called polymorphism. So polymorphism means many shapes. Poly is many and morph is shape. So you have many different many different implementations for the same interface. And that's one of the principles of good object-oriented design. So inheritance is one, polymorphism is another. There's a third one called encapsulation, which I may talk about later. So this is going to add all the HTML to my results, and then I'm just going to return the result. So now I need some questions to actually test this with. I'm going to make a section, and I'm going to put some questions in it, and I'm going to do that in this questions.js file. And I could just, start typing JavaScript object notation and put this big hairy structure together. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to write a function that creates the questions array for a section. So we'll call that create survey questions. And it's going to have a questions array. And then at the end, it's going to return questions. So now I'm just going to start adding some questions here. So we'll do a Q1. And let's look at the survey here. So now I actually do want to open this in Word so I can copy and paste. So I'm going to download this Word file and then pop it open. And let's see. Oh, actually, I want to return, for now, I'm just going to return a section. So forget I did that. Let's just go var Q1 and start there. Okay, so what is your student or faculty status at PCC? So this is select more than one if applicable, and it has an other box. So that's going to be a multi-select with other. New multi, what did I call that? Make sure I know the name. Multiple select question other. Copy that. Multiple select question other. And the title of this one is going to be status. And the question text is this. I'll get rid of the number there. And then I need a list of options. So this is already kind of long, so I'm going to break it and indent it. And then I'm going to have an array. And I'm going to juggle windows a little bit so I can see the full list. There we go. And then I'm just going to start typing here. So full-time student, part-time student, GED student. Can I copy and paste this? I grow weary of typing. So paste that in, get rid of all of those things. And then add double quotes. And then copy and paste that part. Get rid of that comma. And then tab it over and close off my array. And then close off the parenthesis and semicolon. So there's my first question. And then question 2 is a new, which location? This is just a multiple choice. There's no other type in. Maybe there should be. It says other here. Maybe you want to type in, but I'm not going to bother changing it right now. So this is going to be a new multiple choice question. The title is going to be Oh, I'm sorry, it says this multiple select, not multiple choice, because you can select multiple campuses. So multiple select question, campus, and then text. And what location are you primarily taking classes at? So you're not going to circle it because it's not paper. If equally split between campuses, check both. Okay, there's the question. And then my options are going to be these. And then tab, tab, tab. Close off the array. Close off the function call, semicolon. So question 3 is zip code. So that's going to be a new short answer question. Zip code. And then copy that text. Put a question mark in there, get rid of the number. And that's it for that one. So 3 questions is enough for now. And now I'm going to return a new question section? Yeah, question section. So return new question section demographics, comma, an array with question 1, question 2, question 3. Save that. And let's see how we're doing so far. So reload, and then var section is equal to, what did I call that? Create survey questions. So there's my question section. Oh, it's got 2 HTML. So let's call that. Oh, and I got a bunch of HTML, so that's good. So let's do document get element by ID questions. Enter HTML is section dot to HTML. And let's take a look. So we have at the top, oh, I'm not getting my header here, so let me check what's going on with that. Oh, I didn't save it. So that little star means I didn't save it. So save. I'm used to working in an ID that auto-saves. You get used to that. Spoiled. So let's go ahead and section. There. So housing insecurity surveys, H1. Demographics is H2. Status is the question. And that's multiple selection with a type-in box. And then I want to get rid of my style property there right now. So let's just go ahead and do that for now. I have a feeling that it didn't load my CSS sheet. I saved it, but sometimes it's just a little slow. Let me go to Network, and Disable Cache is already turned on. There it goes. Okay, so section display. All right, so 3 questions. Here's a multi-select with an other box. Here's a multi-select without another box. Here's a short answer. And if equally split between campuses, so there's a smart quote. I have to fix that. So that's a hyphen character, which is different from a dash, believe it or not. Good. So we're using inheritance to share code across different object classes, and we're using polymorphism so that we can create a collection of different question types, and then the section code doesn't need to know anything about the fact that there are different types there.